Welcome everyone to Old Roommates. Today on the show, we revisit 1989's Parenthood. So, head to the photo mat to pick up your prints, stop slapping the salami, and have a seat. The revisit is about to begin.
Welcome, everyone, to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And we are revisiting Parenthood.
Yes.
1989, a slew of actors, famous actors. Brian, I want to know your history of this movie.
I will quickly say that this is it was released August 2nd, 1989, which makes this movie 35 years old.
Wow.
What?
Is that right?
Wait.
99,
09, 19, 30, 35
wow.
years. So that
and
means...
we did just count that on our fingers. Just so
we absolutely did.
Know.
So I was 17. I really want to say I saw this on VHS.
Wow.
Or on cable. No, okay. VHS. Here's why I know this.
This is a little shaky.
No.
Right now.
You know why? Because this is what I really love Parenthood. I loved Parenthood when I was younger. And so I was watching it and I'm trying to remember who came over the house. But they're like, oh, I wanted to see it. They walked in. And I pressed pause because I'm trying to remember who it was.
Was it like a friend of yours, a friend of your mother's?
I think maybe a friend of my mom's. Maybe I don't remember who it was.
Something?
But the person was like, oh,
the mailman.
No, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't mailman because the person watched the movie with me. Why can't I think of who it was? Anyway,
it'll come to you.
It'll come to me. But it was a spontaneous visit. But the person ended up watching the movie with me.
Oh my gosh!
Maybe my friend Annette. I don't know. All this to say, I paused it. Because the person knocked on the door. Mm-hmm. And it was just when Dianne Wiest is looking at the photos.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh my God, like the juiciest moment in that movie so far. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm like, I can start it over. I don't even remember, what's that, half hour into the movie?
It wasn't that long, maybe 20 minutes, yeah.
So I was like, I can start it over. And so started over and I was like, this is where I paused it, and that scene happened. I can't remember who it was, but she was like, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't just keep watching it and let me just stand in the doorstep. Because it was like such an amazing moment.
Yes.
Anyway, all that to say, I watched this on VHS and I really, really liked it a lot. I had probably seen it several times on cable, and but I hadn't seen it in probably over 25 years, 30 years. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Very
How about you,
nice.
Christina?
Very similar. I was watching it and a friend came to the door. I'm just kidding. Okay, so it is similar though in my feelings for it. Yeah. I believe I watched it. It was probably a rental, is my guess. And I really enjoyed it as well. I thought it was really funny. Mm-hmm. And it felt like it moved along really quickly. I felt a lot of the characters you can relate with. And I'm trying to think who I loved Marthaplimpton and Keanu.
Yeah.
That was like the highlight when they were on the screen. That was the highlight for me back then.
Probably because you were younger.
Because I related to them for sure. Yeah. And, but yeah, no, I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I've watched it several times since. I think I've recommended it, but again, I haven't seen it in probably 30 years, right? Like it's been a long, long time since I've seen it. So when did you rewatch it?
So I rewatched this probably 2 weeks ago. Okay. So I've had time to digest.
Same.
By the way, this is directed by Ron Howard, of course.
It's very Ron Howard.
It feels very Ron Howard. Written by Lowell Gans and Bubbaloo Mandel, who did Splash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they often team up with...
Wait, did Ron Howard do Splash? He did, right?
Yeah. And they often team up on their collaborations. But
it's a great collaboration.
So, 2 weeks ago. So my first real note is Gil is 35 years old. So Steve Martin is Gil, and he's supposed to be 35. And I was like, oh, but he's actually a bit older in real life at the time of this movie.
Sure.
So that's fine.
It always
has young energy.
He has young energy, but he always looks older because he's always had white hair. I think since he was a child, he had white hair. So it does seem like he's older, but he has the young energy. Go on.
I will say, I was like, uh-oh, this might not go well. Because how many souvenirs did those kids have at that baseball game?
God, that is literally the first note I have. Oh, I said opening scene cute, but so many souvenirs.
Like, they could have been hit by cars. Yes. It was really messy.
Yes.
And it's that thing, Christina, that we've talked about on this podcast where they're like, oh, it's like, I wrote in my note, have they never been in public before?
Right.
As a family? It's like, oh, a child. Like, they're walking, and I blame the parents. I don't even blame the kids. Like, the kids are dropping shit. They're running ahead. And Mary Steenburgen and Steve Martin played the Buckmans, and they're both like kind of dumb. Like, they're not being careful. Right. They're kind of slobs in this scene, this first scene. And I get it. Oh, Parenthood's so messy. It's so messy, isn't it? Isn't it so crazy?
Yeah, it hits you over the head a little bit.
And then, like, at one point, the daughter runs into the park.
I had so much anxiety during that scene.
And I want to be clear, I am not a parent. I'm not. But I was very nervous that this was just going to be a series of clumsy people not knowing how to manage their children. And I was trying to connect the dots and being like, no, but I really like this movie. Yeah. It'll bounce back. It'll bounce back. But it was a tough way to start.
And it was funny that you say that because I completely forgot about that opening scene, like that whole
flashback thing.
The flashback at the ball game.
Which that kid is a good actor. I didn't write his name down.
He was so good.
So damn funny. And a lot of big words to say. And like, you're an amalgam. I'm gonna what him?
And totally believable as a young Steve Martin.
Completely. That is a great performance. I wish I wrote his name down.
Oh, I didn't either. But he was great.
Great.
But yes, I had no recollection of that that flashback scene. And then, yes, my first note, as I said, like so many souvenirs. These people are walking in the middle of a very crowded parking lot at the end of a baseball game. And they all have 4 souvenirs each, probably.
Is it Chicago?
Chicago?
I'm trying to remember where it takes place.
I feel like it was Chicago.
It's a major stadium.
Yes, huge.
And they're just running. Oh my God.
And I was very anxious watching the scene and watching this child, especially the girl, like she's just wandering. I'm like, you guys, keep an eye on your kid. Drop the stupid souvenirs. They don't all need a foam finger. We don't need 3 foam fingers in the house.
The same
thing. Yes. Yeah. So I didn't have that worry like you did, but I was very like kind of annoyed at that whole thing. Like, I get it. They're feeling overwhelmed.
But that's not what I took away from their feeling.
Really?
I just took away that they can't manage it. That honestly they're not even like equipped to.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing if I felt like, oh, these are just parents trying their best. I did not feel that about these two.
They looked tired too.
Yeah,
right?
They looked very tired. And so then it turns into one of my favorite elements of this movie, or things that I remembered mostly, was when you're sliding into first and you're feeling something burst, diarrhea. I just loved that song. And I remembered it so fondly and vividly. And I even remember Steve Martin going, they're like, where'd you learn that song? He's like, summer camp. He's like, that was money well spent. Which does bring up another negative for me. This time around, through my middle-age lens, I didn't really like Steve Martin's character.
That doesn't surprise me. I feel like in every revisit of a Steve Martin movie, you do not like Steve Martin.
Oh, the jerk. That's true, the jerk.
What else have we revisited? I feel like every movie we revisited, you didn't like him. He was over the top.
Roxanne. I did, well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe, I don't think I liked his character.
It's a very Michelle Pfeiffer thing right now for you, right? Because you were just saying, was it last week that with Dangerous Minds?
Yeah.
Saying how, I used to love her. And I was the same way with Michelle Pfeiffer as well. And it's like, but now it just feels like
I don't know.
Much.
I have much like
but anyway, so I can see how you could feel that way.
But I think his character's a jerk in this. I don't think it's a bad performance. I think his character is just not a great character. He's not nice to her, to his wife.
He's unhappy,
Okay.
I think is what's happening.
Right.
And I think that in my evaluation of him,
because you are,
and I'm using that,
a wife and a teacher.
And a teacher.
And a mother.
And a mother. Yes, all of those things. So basically, you should just shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm just kidding. So I see him as reaching like this point in his life where he's very unsatisfied, almost like it seems weird that he's 35, right? So that kind of throws things off. Yeah. Almost like midlife crisis-y. Is this what's happening? Just so much going on. And then he has these challenges with his child who clearly has a lot of anxiety, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with him. But it's also being revealed that he has a lot of undiagnosed anxiety and anxious behaviors and things like that. So it felt to me like he's trying to deal with all of these things with this undiagnosed condition of his own.
Yeah.
And he's just not sure, like it's just coming to a head for him. And he's trying to figure out what the hell he's supposed to do. So he is cranky and he's trying to do the right things, but it's just always falling short. And then you have his father who is ultra critical. Like he was one that the father, I wrote somewhere in here, like, boy, he's just a dick. Like he's just like mean to everybody until his stupid, awful youngest child shows up and he's nice to him. It's like, what the hell? He's really backwards. So I had some sympathy for Steve, for Gil. Thought it was a good performance by Steve. And I did feel that sympathy for Gil in that part of his life where it just seems like no matter what he's doing, it's not good enough.
That's interesting. I felt what he was going through. I didn't feel for the character as much as I think I should have. And certainly not as much as you did.
Yeah.
Because I understand like the work thing too. And he's like, oh, I didn't dazzle you, whatever. And like him having to get more clients and all that kind of ridiculousness. And I did love how they didn't shy away. For 1989, they didn't shy away from the idea of a child therapist. They didn't shy away from a child with mental health issues.
I loved that too.
I love that kid at one scene where he was inconsolable. And I was like, holy shit.
When he lost his retainer?
Yes.
Is it that? Yes. That I remember that from way before.
And
too.
when he was bullied and his grandfather was like, go over there and punch him or whatever, and all this kind of stuff. And I think a weaker movie would have not made him as bad. It wouldn't have made the scenes as long. And
well, it's a pretty serious topic.
It is it is.
What I
but
thought
for
was
89, I think they handled it really well.
I thought they handled it really, really well. I thought it was really interesting, and I think it's very true to the times where it was so such a stigma.
Yes. To
have these problems, like the teachers talking about pulling him from school, which they never would do these days. They have special ed people in the schools to help with these children. It's all inclusive now, right? But back then, they took him out, or they took him out, at least took him out of class to be in a special class. Or they wanted to send him to a different school.
And I also think that scene was great because it was like, you know what? They brought in the child counselor, the therapist. They brought, and the principal, and it's like, you actually got it. It's like, you know what? The teacher's spending 20% of her time with Kevin.
Yes.
And there's the whole rest of the class they can't even keep up with the curriculum.
Right.
So all these students are suffering now because Kevin has these issues that is beyond them.
And it's still happening today.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, I feel pretty good. Like it's still, there's a long road ahead still. Yeah. But it made me feel good about what was in place today and how there is a lot in place today. And even the curriculums that they have today, it all addresses this sort of thing and really is so inclusive to all of the children and really addresses a lot of these issues. And it makes me feel good about what's happening today when you're looking at what they were doing back then.
Yeah.
And, just again, like with the stigma of it and mom's blaming herself. I didn't, I forget what she said, but it was like, she's being, and then he turns around and he's like, that's right. Why did you do this? And it's like, oh my God, like these are real conversations that people have.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, really well done. Like you said, like it was really, really
and
well done.
And it's like the whole thing, even with the Rick Moranis character is like, kind of quietly judging him and making little snide remarks under his breath. And then the grandfather being just like, oh, shake it off. Kind of like, and it's like, oh my God, like and I'm going to tell you, you know, when I saw this the first few times, I was a teenager, and I barely remembered that subplot. I barely remembered it. I was watching this now going,
it was very
holy
minor.
shit, I didn't realize how big these scenes were and how seriously the movie took it. And so it really made me like give this movie a lot of credit.
Which is interesting because like I feel like I would have remembered it more. Like I do remember when he lost the retainer and all of that. But back then, it didn't occur to me that he had like this really serious thing. And I didn't get that they wanted to remove him out of the school. I didn't get that Gil's character also has that same anxiety, all of that stuff. And I felt like I should have, because it was so different than what we were used to.
I will say, you know, I'm the oldest of 5 kids. My youngest brothers are twins. And so they were probably around Kevin's age, actually, now that I think about it. And they were just always loud and emotional and crazy. And so maybe that's why Kevin's stuff didn't, we're both swaying in our chairs. We don't usually do that.
It's like we're dancing.
We're like dancing. But I feel like, maybe that's why it wasn't so, I was like, oh, he's just a loud, whiny kid.
Right.
And that's probably how my brain accepted that, because I didn't know anything about child psychology or psychology or anxiety or, you know.
Well, I think that was a lot of times that what people thought anyway.
Yeah.
Right? These kids are crazy. And it's like,
they're spoiled brats.
Boys being boys.
But he's crying.
And it's
that's true. Oh, you baby him. That's why.
Yeah, that's
you're just babying him. Yeah.
But very interesting watching this.
It was good. For 89,
it was
great.
Excellent. Yeah. I thought it was excellent.
I don't want to jump too fast. My next note is about Keanu Reeves.
Okay. Well, you talked about Nathan's family a little bit. That was Rick Moranis' character.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was kind of interesting, too. I don't know, like, I've been going back and forth since the rewatch about whether or not this character was even necessary.
Christina.
Were you feeling the same way?
1000%.
Yeah. That was my basic feeling. This family unit is not really necessary. However, I was imagining the movie without it.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like it's necessary only because Dianne Wiest's family, although they were older, her problems were very similar to Gil's family's problems. And I felt like they almost needed that Rick Moranis' family unit to be a little bit different.
Well, it's really showing,
and judgy,
right? But it's also showing a different parenting style. I mean, even Dianne Wiest, the way she's a single mother, divorced woman, you know, 2 kids, and she's handling things the way she can. She works a lot, and she's a mom, and the father wants nothing to do with these kids. Seemingly, he's a dentist, I think.
Yeah.
And then you have Gil, and I can't remember Mary Steenburgen's character's name, but they're, you know, and then they have their way of handling Karen. They're handling their way. And so, yeah, I think what it was is like, I appreciated the perspective. I kind of felt like any jokes revolving around them were coming a mile away. And I really, talk about shallow dives, I really hated that resolution for them at the end of the movie.
So dumb. I remember liking it back then. I thought it was cute or whatever. But I'm like, did it resolve anything? It had nothing to do with the child. So she's basically leaving him. Yeah. And it's funny because at the beginning they're on the same page. So her little change happened a little bit quick for me. But all of a sudden she's like, well, maybe she should play. So for those of you who don't know, they have this child. She's a little girl. And they're basically overachieving, you know, making her learn languages. And, you know, he knows all about the brain and he's saying what's good. And they have power food eating and things like that. Yeah. But in the middle of it says she wants to have another baby. And he's like, no, our plan was they have to have at least 5 years difference or and all of this. What was annoying to me was she was starting to realize, okay, maybe our child is weird and our child needs to start playing and things like that. As a teacher, I agree with that. And then he's not listening because he's so focused on the child. Yeah. And he's not paying attention to her at all. So she's like, I'm leaving you. Yeah. Then nothing happened in between. And all of a sudden, he shows up at her work and sings her a song and she forgives him. But there was no conversation about the child. It was weird.
To me, that was, oh my gosh, we need to be a stable parent unit for our daughter.
Right.
It wasn't about her at all.
It wasn't.
It was about him needing her, but it was needing her to complete that little picture of a two-parent household.
There was no learning. No. There was no compromise. Yeah. There was none of that at all. So so I struggled back and forth about, I didn't even like that whole storyline. I didn't feel like it added anything.
She also was binging food in the closet, like junk food, or snacking at least, but hiding snacks. Like, that's a bit of an eating disorder. Never really discussed.
What kind of relationship is it where she can't say, I want to eat my own stuff?
I want to eat Oreo cookies.
I want an Oreo.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was like in charge of everything. It's like very dysfunctional.
Yeah, that was probably the weakest part of the movie for me. And as much as I like Rick Moranis and I liked Harley Jink Kozak.
Yes, I like her a lot too.
Yeah, and but it just, I think when you hold this up to other storylines in the movie, it's probably the weakest. Although at the same time, I appreciated the perspective.
I would have appreciated her basically leaving him and having him gone.
Yeah,
and having her now parenting the way she wants to parent. It's parenthood. The name of the movie is Parenthood.
Right.
So anyway.
Well, I also think and if that happened, I don't know, it could have been deeper. I mean, it could have probably been its own, bigger storyline.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was just lacking depth or something. Yeah.
But anyway, so my next note is about Keanu Reeves under the bed. We find out the mother says that Julie must have been sick because she heard a lot of moaning or nightmares.
Yes. So some of those things are so funny. And I will tell you, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Sure.
This family unit was my favorite of the whole entire movie. I just loved it.
Yeah.
Go on.
Dianne Wiest was Oscar nominated, by the way, for this.
Well deserved.
She was really great in this. And Keanu pops out from under the bed. You find out that he's the one moaning loudly.
Yeah.
That's not Julie, played by Marthaplimpton. But he is so cute, so lovable.
Oh my God!
Really, just perfectly cast in this.
And it's honestly someone I would have dated at that age. Not even kidding you.
But you get the sense adorable. That he's all heart.
Yes, 1,000%.
He just, and like in that, and I will say a little bit of a negative is that like when she tells her mom like, oh my God, he told me no bitch was gonna. I didn't believe it.
No,
I'm like this character really say bitch. This bitch, or isn't gonna tell me how to live my life? Like it's probably why it was off camera because I couldn't even picture it. This character is. And you find out a bit about him. He was a little bit abused by his dad, and he has a great line about what it takes to be a father. That anyone can be a father, but
anybody can be a
father.
Right. You need a license for all these other things.
Right. Yeah. And but I thought he was super cute, and their chemistry is off the charts. They are so comfortable. Him and Marthaplimpton are so comfortable with each other. You completely believe this whole relationship, except the stuff that happens off camera. So, like the he yelled at me or whatever, and I moved out, and all that kind of stuff. But I thought that was a really, really big high point.
I loved them just as much as I did before. I agree. Their chemistry was amazing. I loved their fights. I loved her screaming at him. I loved all of these little reveals that came out. Like, we got married. I'm your wife. Or he yelled it, right? You're my wife. And poor Dianne Wiest's character. What is her name? Helen? No. What is Helen?
Yeah.
What is Helen?
I have that same note. Helen going from hitting Todd to hitting Julie.
God, so funny.
So she's hitting Todd.
So funny.
And he's like, stop, she's my wife. And she's like, what? And she starts hitting Julie.
Oh my God. It's so good and so real.
It feels real.
Yeah.
As movie-ish.
She's trying,
as movie-ish as it is.
She's trying so hard to be everything for these children.
Yeah.
Trying to stand her ground, but also trying to be understanding and trying to listen. And she's so frustrated. And I love like her sarcastic, biting comments underneath her breath. And because she's just trying so hard, and it's like just thankless. Yeah. And then you have
Joaquin,
who is billed as
Leaf.
Leaf. It was before he changed his name. He was Leaf Phoenix before, and now he's Joaquin. But
Gary is
his name. He's walking around like he's with this weird
paper
big
bag.
paper bag that he carries with him everywhere, and she knows she's trying to respect his privacy, and it's just such a great performance.
What's also like probably from my standpoint the most relatable, having like a single mother.
Yes,
and also, and you know, God bless any single parent out there, because you know the kids have their own personalities, their own things, their own needs. And to be a single parent managing all that stuff, and then the exterior stuff, like Gary's bringing porn into the house. Gary, you know, Marthaplimpton's character has Keanu Reeves sneaking in and out of the house, and like all she wants is for her daughter to have a good chance at college.
Yep.
All she wants is for her son Gary to be comfortable talking to her, because she feels inadequate because she's not the dad,
right?
Male,
she has to be everything for everybody.
She has to be everyone. She can't connect with Gary, who's hit puberty with a vengeance. And it's so good. You feel her frustration, and that is what I will say, comparatively speaking, with Steve Martin's character, where, like, you said, well, he's really unhappy, and I think like it's like. That was something I kept struggling with. I'm like, is he unhappy, or is he just this character? Is he just this way? Whereas Dianne Wiest is like, I felt she was a much more realized character. And I think something Dianne Wiest does better than anyone in all of these revisits is like that, or even just 80s movies or 90s movies, that is the chit chat. Like all those group scenes, like the family barbecues and the family parties, that little, those little moments of just, what do you call it? Like crosstalk.
Sure.
You know, at dining tables. She's so good at that. She's been in, you know, obviously a few Woody Allen movies. But I just love Dianne Wiest so much. She's so
love her too. Have you ever seen Life in Pieces?
No.
You should look that up.
Right.
It's on, I think, Hulu. Okay. It's kind of old now. I think you would really like it. It's funny.
All right. It's a TV show.
It's been on for a while.
Movie?
I mean, it's a TV show. Okay. I think there's like 4 seasons or something like that. I'm literally in the middle of like the first season. I just started watching it. But basically, it's a family.
Yeah.
Dianne Wiest is in it, which is why I'm bringing it up. She's the mom. And it's basically 4 short stories in a half hour.
Oh, okay.
Of the families.
Yeah.
It's good. I think you'll appreciate it. Try it. Anyway, but yes, I loved her too. I thought she was my favorite character in the whole movie, and very relatable and just great. Just really funny. And you definitely sympathize with her.
Yeah. Then to complete
sorry. Yeah. And I will just say, I love how open-minded she is, because that's a huge thing. Like, she's not stuck in like, no. She realizes she has to change, and she has to compromise a little bit. I loved when she's having the conversation with Gary about the movies and realizing that he does not want to talk to her about sex. She doesn't even understand about male, puberty. And I like that she offered her brother first. And then she's like, what about Todd? And I like how she recognized, like, Todd's not her favorite person.
Right.
She does not want Todd in the house, but she realizes that it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
And it ended up being great, like a perfect solution. And then that led to a nice conversation with her and Keanu, right? Like, it was so good. Like, that whole arc was
really well written, and funny. And it has all like the movie beats where you're like, oh, okay. But it also feels real. Like, it's like, you know what? These are actually smart choices.
Yes.
Like, for example, the fight she has with Julie about the pictures is so
her comments
good.
Are like,
they're so good.
This is my favorite. I think this is one for my wallet. Like, she's so funny.
It's that Todd, isn't it? Here's one you can actually see his face.
That Todd.
That Todd.
That's relatable.
Wow. I mean, just like the whole thing, and then like when so before that though, there's the light goes out at her house, the power goes out.
Oh God.
And Steve Martin runs into the bedroom. She says, oh, there's a flashlight in my bedroom, and he grabs in the dark what he thinks is a flashlight, when it's actually a vibrator, and the light turns on while Steve Martin's holding the vibrator. And it's hilarious because you have the little granddaughter, Curly Sue, right?
Yes.
And then you have the grandmother sitting side by side, and the lights come on, Steve Martin's holding the vibrator, and the little girl says, what is that? And Mary Steenburgen says, it's an electric ear cleaner. And then the little girl says, it it was so big. It's so big. And, it was so big. And the grandmother goes, it sure was.
The grandmother has some great little lines,
She
too.
does.
Yeah. She made me chuckle.
But before all this, we meet someone else in the family. Ugh. We meet...
Hated him then.
Larry. Now, that's one stupid criticism. I hear myself saying it, and I know it's a stupid criticism. But if you're out there, I've never written a screenplay, but any budding screenwriters, think about your characters' names. Maybe do a character naming tree. This really bothered me. We have Lenny, Larry, Phil, Gil, Karen, Susan, Helen. It's like the names are like they're like awfully similar. Like Larry, Lenny, Phil, Gil, Susan, Helen, Karen. Like I don't know. Thank God it was cool. The
Must
kid's
have been tough as an actor reading a script and be like, wait.
Oh, Larry, sorry. Wait, there's even more. There was Lenny, Larry, and then Gary. So it's
Gary,
like Gary, Larry,
Gary,
Lenny.
Gil.
I'm like, oh my, Gary, Gil. Like, geez, it's like branch out a little bit. But I thought, Larry is Tom Hulse's character's name.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to say something controversial, perhaps. Okay. I remember this character so well when I was young that it truly made me dislike Tom Hulse for the rest of my life and his career. I thought he was so good.
He was really
so effective. Good. And through my middle-age lens, he is so good. And I hate to say it because I know people like this in life.
Yep.
He is really good in this role.
Yep.
And it's tragic. It is maddening. It's infuriating. And there may be situations like this going on in my family right now.
I also have people in my family. Yeah. I think probably everyone has someone similar
I think
to
this is like the ne'er-do-well, the one who's like, but it's a little, but through my middle-aged lens,
so sad,
it's much darker because he's in trouble. And like, I think when I was a kid, it didn't register as much. And I'm like, oh my God, this poor, and I know Jason Robards, he plays the dad, the grandfather, whatever, but he's like, yeah, he's a jerk. He's so rude to the grandmother, the mother, and like, and all that. But with Tom Hulse, like, it's just like, what do you effing do? Like, your son is telling you he's going to be killed or at least beaten up severely.
Right. And as a parent, as anybody,
even though this kid is
person,
how old is he? 27 years old, 30,
something like that.
Whatever.
Yeah. Too
old for this business. And then he just walks in with this kid. This is cool. This kid from this relationship, they never met the woman, right? Like,
no, she was like,
she kind of showed up
to jail or something. She got arrested, yes, right? They got arrested,
and it blew my mind. And then they're sitting at the table, and I remembered this line like it was yesterday when he says, the mother says, Larry's mother says, "Oh no, this isn't another get-rich-quick scheme, is it, Larry?" And Jason Robards cuts her off and says, "Oh, stop. Quick is the best way to get rich."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, have you seen her family? They find
terrible.
Oh my God, so mean.
He's so mean. Such a jerk."
And like, but the presence of this Larry character was so important to the movie.
Yes.
But infuriatingly well done, because it's like, you hate this guy, you see everything coming a mile away, and you're like, oh God, just stand your ground. And he does at one point, Jason Robards' character does say, "Don't lie to me," or "I'm not stupid."
Yes, when he was wanting to steal the car. Yeah, sell the car.
God.
Oh my God. I agree. He walks in and you get a pit in your stomach.
Yeah.
Because number one, someone like this in your life.
Yeah.
And it's just infuriating is a perfect word for it, because you want to help them, but you get the sense that all of his siblings have already tried to help him probably a half dozen times each.
Gil says to one of the little kids, "Whatever you do, don't give him any money. Don't loan him any money."
Yes.
Yeah. So you know that they've all been screwed.
Even just their expressions, they're like, ugh. Yeah. Like, there's not a whole lot of
love
or welcoming or anything. Everybody's frustrated with them. And it's really like the father who has not yet seen that part of it. Like, and that's bizarre to me because you would think he's so critical of all of his other children. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems weird to me.
My take was he feels like, similar to Gil, maybe he feels like he's screwed up with his other kids.
Yeah.
You know, he has a divorced daughter who can't manage her kids. One kid doesn't even speak. He thinks Gil is a nervous wreck and a mess. And it's Harley Jane Kozak is the other sibling, and she's kind of a shadow. Like, she doesn't really have a strong presence. But they're like,
but he doesn't really come to that realization until after the youngest one.
That's right.
Really, you know, he realizes that he just really is fucked up, and he's not going to get any better.
I mean, he's the baby of the family. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. It just seemed a little weird that he was such a cheerleader for this guy that was clearly a fuck up, and everybody else was like subtly fucked up.
Or it's one of two things. Maybe he thinks that there's a part of Larry that's still cool and exciting.
Maybe.
Or
sees a lot of himself in it. Maybe.
Yes. Maybe he thought, like, you know what? Good. I want this kid to take chances. The chances that I could never take because I became a father too young.
Yeah.
You know, there's a few different things. I believed it, though. I believed the, wow, cool, wow. But also, too, when I would imagine, I can't prove this, I would imagine if you're a parent and you have an estranged or distant child, anytime that child enters your periphery, there's a wishful,
like, you don't want him to go away. Again, but I would expect that more from the mom than the dad for some reason.
And that's not what happens. The mother has his number real fast.
Right
to the
away.
point where she even says, well, we don't have the big house anymore. It's just me and your grandmother now.
And you get the sense that she probably sold the big house because of him, right?
Yep.
But boy, is that, I agree. It's
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Great performance. Yeah. It's so heartbreaking. And then he comes up with like this great plan. Finally, this kid is allegedly being honest about what's happening and needs like $20,000 or something. And he comes up with a great plan to get him out of it. And
Jason Robards' character
yes, he does. Yeah, the dad. And you feel that little bit of a hope, like, oh my God, this is great. And I don't know, it just hit so close to home. It was like, fuck, no, he's still not going to do it.
And you see Larry's face completely change.
Yep.
It was like, oh. Because, God forbid you take any responsibility for yourself.
No responsibility.
It takes a special kind of person, I think I'm projecting, to be a certain age and go after your parents, like your elderly parents that should be enjoying retirement and a stress-free life. He's a certain kind of person to go after them to borrow money.
It's narcissistic.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's narcissism. And they don't think about the other person.
Yeah.
They just think about themselves, and they think that they are entitled to this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
it's also a pattern because they've always been helped.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep,
so it's
true.
Like, you know,
always had that, always had that safety net, if you will.
I will say one of my least favorite lines or moments in this entire movie, I hated when Gil, because it felt too movie for me. It felt a little too much.
I know what you're going to say. When he becomes the clown.
No.
Oh my God, really?
No, that didn't bother me so much.
God.
I called bullshit on the kids liking it. That's I called bullshit on it. But the thing I hated most was when he turned to Karen in the meeting and he's like, you smoked grass.
Oh, right. That's what I was talking about before when she was blaming herself and then he blames her.
I hated that, just that 5 seconds because I'm like, what? Oh my God, would he really do that? And that's when Gil really started getting on my nerves.
Yeah. It did not seem like he would do something like that.
No, because you're a unit, you're a team. Like, why would you, like, it's like throwing your team member under the bus.
Or he would have done it differently. Yeah. Like, if he's going to say that, maybe he would say, well, you know, when she starts saying, it's my fault, I didn't do this, and have him say something like, well, you know, you did smoke grass.
What he could have said, right, is he could have done something like, so, in terms of child development, would it have been an issue if you, say, smoked a lot of marijuana while you were pregnant? And then have her look at him like, are you serious right now? Yeah. But like, he jumps out of his chair and yells at her.
Yeah, that was.
I didn't like that at all.
I didn't like that either. And I didn't like when he dressed up as the clown. The only cowboy guy.
You know what? I thought it was pretty cute. The only thing I didn't buy was that the kids would be okay with it. Like, the kids were expecting this mega clown star.
That was just at another, he was already at another party.
Although I did really laugh when the little kid walks in naked in the room with the cowboy outfit on.
Oh my God,
and
so
he's like,
cute.
yeah, but I wear this later.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
That was very cute. But were you at all, so you're an animal lover.
Yeah.
Were you at all disturbed that at the end of so this bothered me.
Okay.
A real horse shows up at the end of the party for him to ride off on.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, where did this horse come from? That costs a lot of money. Secondly, why wouldn't the horse be the star of this party? Like, a horse shows up to a birthday party. It's like, oh my God.
No, do you remember how it starts?
No.
So the party starts, because I missed it. I was like, that's kind of weird. There was a horse.
There was okay.
Just
I
doing
missed it.
horse rides.
Like,
there was a horse. There was a horse trainer. It was all guided around.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better because I didn't remember that part at all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where is this horse coming from? And then he rides off on it.
Yeah.
And he gets thrown off. Ha 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 ha. Does anybody care about where the horse goes?
The horse stops.
He did stop.
Yeah.
But nobody cares.
Trust Christina. You know me. I had an eagle eye on this horse business. And I was watching very close. I'm like, you know what? And then the horse does stop and starts eating a bush, which is like fine. But it's like but it's so funny because I'm like, this is quite the fucking birthday party.
Yeah, I don't think
the birthday.
Yeah, it reminded me of Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh damn that! I was gonna say Mommy Dearest.
Oh, Mommy Dearest. Well, you expect it from Joan Crawford.
True.
But,
true.
Daniel from Mrs. Doubtfire, who didn't have any
monkeys
job or anything. They had a whole circus
there. Okay. Talk about something that did not age well. I'm sure you have this note.
Oh my God, the school shooting.
I mean, we can't go a day in America without a school shooting. But
really did not age well. I was ouch.
Here's what's really wild is that I remember that being hilarious when I was young.
Right, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I was like, oh, this is so funny because it's like while he's yelling at his son. So Steve Martin has a dream sequence. He has two. One is like Kevin is this amazing student, valedictorian. He thinks his dad, that's great. But then things go wrong. He has this other dream sequence where Kevin has Kevin goes crazy at college and starts shooting people. So it's an active shooter situation.
Disturbing. I didn't remember this at all.
It's insane.
And it was like, holy crap.
I remembered it because I thought it was really funny back then. And now being middle-aged and just living in America, I was like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Yeah, that was bad.
The only thing that they did right was it was an interesting layer when Steve Martin says in the megaphone, great shot, son, because he shoots like something and it blows up.
Well, he was shooting, and I was going to say the same thing. I actually giggled at that because he says, nice shot, son.
Yeah.
And he turns and he says, it's important to be supportive.
But that didn't.
But I was like,
can I be really honest? I remembered it very well, and I was surprised that they left it in. I feel like they're cutting so many things out of movies. Well, and TV
and I rented it, so they would have had to have kept it in.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, I watched it on Max, actually.
All right, let me see. I'm looking at my notes. I haven't even looked at my notes at all. I just want to see if there's anything that I missed. I think we've covered most of it so far.
Yeah, I don't have too many other...
Oh, Larry's first thing, when he hugs his sister, says, God, Susan, you look great if you weren't my sister.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So gross.
One little detail that I thought they did really well.
Yeah.
When Dianne Wiest's character looks under Gary's bed, do you remember what's under there? About 30 tissues.
Oh my God! How
because once you know, because I remembered I forgot what he had in the bag, but I remember that he had hit puberty and he was jerking off a lot. And so when she looked into the bed, I was like, oh my God, the answer was right there.
That's great. That's great. Yes, that is great the way they did that. So what is next? Did we talk about him breaking into the dentist's office and all that?
No, but I remember I remembered being jolted by that when I was much younger. Like, ooh, who did this? I was so dumb. I didn't make the connection that it was him. And also since now through my middle-aged lens, it's so obvious it's him.
Right, as you're walking, you're like, oh my God,
of course it's him.
Of course
I wonder why they wouldn't just show him doing it.
Yeah, and he like, crashes the family picture with the new family and all of that.
Maybe it would have made him look too scary. I don't know.
Maybe. I loved the shaving head thing. It's like she's shaving her head and she's like, what are you doing? She's like, I knew you'd make a thing out of this, Mom. Oh my God. And I related so well to the piñata at the birthday party, how it's impossible to break.
Yeah.
It is impossible to break. This is terrible. And then the helium with the grandmother. The grandmother was so cute, funny. All of her little things was really, really funny. I thought the water gun fight was really over the top. I think that was part of why I didn't like it. The water gun fight with, him running around. He has a water gun. If anybody has ever had a water gun, you have about 2 good streams, and then you have to refill. Yeah. And these kids had like endless streams, and it went on forever while running around the house and running through the house and all this kind of stuff. So that was a little bit annoying. I loved that Gary had the porn in like Back to the Future.
Amazing.
Like like hiding them into real ones, and she's like looking at it and it slides out.
Wild, Wet, and Ready was the name of that one.
Oh yeah.
You know what?
Wild, Wet, and Horny, I thought, no?
I thought it said Wild,
it might
Wet,
have been
and Ready. But the thing is when she put it on, first of all, it's so bizarre. Like, what did she think was on them? She already saw the name.
Why
but
is
then
she putting it on?
plays it in his room. He could walk in at any moment.
Right, and he did.
But before that, of course, the grandmother walks in. This poor grandmother.
Oh my God. And she was with this
Harley.
Sister.
Yeah. But then it's like, I'm like, Dianne, what did you think was on these videos?
Yeah. I said, why would she watch it? Right here, I wrote that.
Yeah. Oh, why would she watch it? But also, it didn't look like really good porn. It looked like very witchcrafty and weird.
Yeah. And then the grandmother, what channel is this?
Didn't she say like one of them reminded her of her grandfather?
Was that the vibrator? No, it wasn't the vibrator.
No, she says like, one of those men. Am I making that up? I thought what she said at one point, one of those men reminded me of your grandfather. And she's like, okay, Mom.
Feel like
okay, Grandma.
Something. Yeah. I think I remember that.
And then I wrote, I absolutely love Dianne Wiest and Keanu Reeves' scene together. That is just a beautiful. Oh,
in the same scene, she writes. So she's like, "You're a great kid. You used to have a lousy dad, whatever, right?" And then she goes, "I'm assuming you watch these because you're curious about sex or filmmaking."
Yeah, this is there's a lot of good. This is a really lot of great moments in the script. Although some of it's like heavy, like when she says when Julie's crying and she's like, "Oh, he said he loved me," and she says, "All men say that."
Yep.
And then they come, and I was like, "Holy shit, Jesus, lady!" And then she says, the daughter says, "Oh, Mom, please, the last guy you went out with stole our furniture."
Right.
Like, but it's so like rough, so brokenhearted,
and
so
it's
like
so real.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really what I love about it.
It's like they don't. And what's interesting, and I do think, I don't know, I have a lot of female friends, and it does feel like the mother-daughter dynamic where it's like. They kind of go for the gut. Like, they kind of go, it's like, to say that to your daughter, she's so heartbroken and crying in your arms, and you're like, yeah, all guys say that, and then they come. And then the daughter gives it right back. It's like, you're not perfect either. Like, you have bad taste in guys, too.
And it does show her how bitter she is, too, about it. And I think that really woke her up a little bit, too, all of that, especially when they get in that big fight, and, when he gets in the accident. Right? When when Todd gets in the accident. Yeah. And she does, what's her name? I keep saying Martha.
Julie.
And Julie doesn't want to go.
I can't do it.
And she's like, this is marriage. This is marriage. You have to do it. And I mean,
she doesn't say it that calmly. She screams it. Yeah. She's like, this is marriage.
Yeah. But it's just so good.
It's good. It's good. So good. I really liked how, Kevin's meltdown at Chuck E. Cheese or wherever they are, and the bullying and the retainer, and then they show them in the trash, which I kind of call a little bullshit on, just because it's like they wouldn't have it narrowed down, but maybe they wouldn't. But when Gil's like, "This is ridiculous. I don't want to do this," and she's like, "Those were $200. If you dropped $200 in the trash, you'd look for it, right? And I was like, that is so smart. But there are so many things where I'm like, I don't think I would look in trash.
Yeah, I mean, can you get me a glove first?
And also a retainer. When you think about
what it is,
you know what
I would do? I'd probably dump it out on the ground and fish through it. I wouldn't I wouldn't put my hand all the way in there.
You'd cut yourself.
All that old pizza and soda and stuff.
Good luck finding a retainer in a pizza garbage.
Who said this? Women have.
Oh, so
I remember this now.
I'm going to say, okay, I do think the movie pivots quite hard in some of these scenes towards the end.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to jump into the chase here. I preferred the rougher, harder, messier ending than how it ended. Mm-hmm. I hated the ending. Interesting. I liked the messier, darker endings of these storylines. That's just me, though. I feel like it earned it. I feel like, it's like when Todd said, it starts with Todd. Something happens and he's like, "'Cause I'm stupid, okay?" Love that. Yeah. And then what's her name? Karen reveals she's pregnant. She's like, "You think I should get an abortion?" I was like, "Holy shit, Ron Howard." Okay.
Yeah. She actually, because she says that word. She's like, "Say it. You want me to get an abortion?" And
I fucking loved his response with not the women have choices, men have responsibilities. Yep. Holy shit. But before that, he's like, "Listen, this is your decision." But she's like, "Gil, are you running for Congress?" Yeah, it's so good. That conversation is so fantastic. Good. I was stunned because I believe a lot of men have felt this way in their life. Sure. Where if there's one parent working and it's the guy, because like historically in our cookie cutter world, there was a time when a lot of women could stay home and raise children. Not so much anymore. And Gil said, I'm sorry, I think you wanted to say the line. I cut you off,
it's totally fine. No, it's fine.
That's the difference between men and women. Women have choices. Men have responsibilities. And
that's when she responds to, "What are you running for Congress?" I think that's what happens right after that.
I thought she said that before, because I think that's really a hateful thing to say.
It is a very hateful thing to say.
But why he was saying that is so he was going for this promotion at work, and his boss is like, "We have to dazzle us, because he heard that someone else is going to get the promotion. And then he didn't get the promotion, so then he quits. And his wife's, he's like, "Well, you're pregnant. I just quit my job. This is, being really rude to her, actually, as if she got pregnant by herself." Right. And I loved, because he does say women have choices, and she's like, "Choice? Okay, great. I choose for you to have the baby." Right. And I was like, you know what? This is good.
It's so good. And then he makes fun of her. Good. He's like, let me know when you're back from Fantasyland. Yeah. Right? Like, it's such a good, real fight. It's such a good, real fight.
It's a really well-written fight, which can always go one or two ways. Sometimes it's a little too performative or a little too well-written. Like, no one would think that in the spur of the moment. But I appreciated that the writers gave both of these characters ammo. Yeah. And I felt that way about the Julie and the Helen characters. Yes. Dianne Wiest, they thank God they wrote both characters well. Like, to say smart things, to have these conversations, and also to like, be able to defend themselves. I feel like sometimes, like, even like, say, Indecent Proposal, where Demi Moore barely spoke. And it's like, where is her dialogue? Like, sometimes you watch these movies, and you're like, I would have said this, and I would have said that. Right. And it's like, in this movie, I feel like the characters are allowed to do that. And it's nice. Definitely. Yeah, it's good.
And he even screams at one point, "My whole life is have to." I mean, these really hit home, right? Yeah. Who hasn't felt that way as an adult?
I will say this. There was a time in me and Carl's marriage where, like, he needed a green card. And then we didn't get married for the green card. He got his green card through work. But then later on, he quit his job and he did a bunch of odd jobs, bartending. Now he's in real estate. And he's doing really well in real estate. But it hinges on the fact that I get insurance for both of us from my job. Right. There have been moments, and not just in the last, say, 7 years since we've lived here, but even before, where like he was on my insurance, where it's like, if I had a really shitty day at work, I would love to just be like, fuck it, I'm quitting. But that would affect us both.
Right.
When Carl had a bad day at work with his green card, he couldn't just quit because he needed the green card.
Right.
So it's like to be under that kind of pressure, but we don't even have kids.
Right.
But it's like, that is a tough thing. Like, I'm not going to make it too personal, but it's like, I would imagine a lot of people go through that. Holy shit.
And I think you kind of nailed it.
We're stuck.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it. Like, once you have a child.
Yeah.
Like, let's face it, you guys could split up if you wanted to, right? But once you have a child, that is attached to you forever. And you have that, I have to. You are forever not one person anymore.
Yeah.
You are forever attached to
I really don't know how people do it.
It's a lot.
I say this to you guys, you know, on our Marco Polo, it's like, even just traveling, getting
and I want you to remember this on Father's Day, when you get upset when we don't say Happy Father's Day because you have cats. Okay, I want you to have this. This conversation.
I've never said that.
I'm just kidding.
On National Cat Day, I do.
Right.
No, but I've never heard it said in a movie. I've never heard it laid out in a PG-13 Ron Howard summertime comedy blockbuster that talks about abortion, that talks about women's rights, men's responsibilities, the difficulties with just having children.
Yes. Yeah.
And I really appreciated this movie for doing that.
And they have that the whole anxiety thing,
the mental
happening
health
too,
stuff,
right?
and yes,
it's crazy. And I think that is really what separates this family, Dianne's family, from Rick Moranis' family.
Yeah.
They don't have those moments. They don't have
I think one of the reasons they're
moments.
Yes, I think one of the reasons they're there is to be like, even if you do everything right, even if you're set up for success.
But I don't even think they're doing anything right.
No. I think it's like, even if you're doing things like, say, buy a book or say, a plan.
Yes.
They have a very fully realized plan. It's not going to work for everybody. And it's contingent upon a lot of variables that you can't fucking control.
I will say, if there's one word to describe parenthood, it is adaptability. Like, you have to adapt because everything changes all the time. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy.
So we already talked about that, but I called bullshit on Rick Moranis' song. That she desered way more than that. She should not have gotten back together with him.
That is not a way that is no way to win back a woman.
Nope.
Sorry, don't do it, anybody.
Quite frankly, or a man. I don't want Carl showing up.
Or a man.
Showing up in my office to sing to me because we had a fight. Like,
I want to see that. If he does do that recorded, that's adorable. For Carl to do it, I would take him back.
Oh my God. Yeah, if Carl sang, if we had a fight and Carl came to my
what would he sing? What would he sing?
Oh, he'd probably sing a Celine Dion song or a Cher song. Really playing to the audience. Yeah. But I'd just be like, what?
Oh my God. So then he calls her out on the roller coaster story.
Oh yeah, but that's really funny, and because I like that that's such a movie thing. Like, the grandmother just had the perfect metaphor or analogy, but it's like,
if she's so brilliant, why is she sitting in our neighbor's car?
That was great.
Sorry, I finished your thought because
because I was in a jump.
The roller coaster story is like, she's like,
it's a little too on the nose. Yeah.
And I loved that it was too on the nose, and I love that he called her out on it. Like, basically said, what is this, a fucking movie line?
Exactly,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he was very close to saying something like that. So
I thought the play thing could have been so much better. I don't think we needed the sound effects of a roller coaster. That was like really
that was dumb. You didn't need to do that.
But my biggest fucking issue with that scene. Get your goddamn kid off the stage. There's other parents.
Amen to that.
There are other parents that want to see this play.
He's laughing. Like, get the kid. He's ruining.
Didn't a woman say they're ruining the play?
Yeah.
She was right. They are ruining it. They are destroying the sets on stage.
Yeah.
The poor teacher is beside herself. She can't control. By the way, it's also your little shitty kid that bangs his head into everything.
Yep.
Like, your little shitty kid is destroying things. He could injure people, and they're just laughing, letting him run wild.
The mother should have been trying to get to the child.
How about Gil?
Well, Gil too, but then you wouldn't have that roller coaster moment with Gil.
I guess
right?
so.
Because he's still looking at everything and then just realizing, oh God, you're right. It's ups and downs and ups and downs, and this is funny but horrible at the same time. So if she at least was attempting to get her child, that would have been more realistic.
They kind of played it like there's so many people taking pictures and filming that she couldn't get by them.
But but she was sitting there. She wasn't doing anything. She was laughing.
She was standing, but to me it was bullshit. Like, to me it's like, then go the other way around the aisle.
Yeah.
But then
if my kid's up there,
excuse me. What if the kid fell off the stage? He would have hurt himself. And just all of it seemed bullshit to me. And I didn't find it funny.
No,
I was like,
didn't think it was that funny.
They're really ruining this for so many other parents and kids there.
Yep, I agree. As a teacher and a parent. If I put something like that on and one of the siblings came up,
destroying the sets, Christina.
It takes a lot of work to put these things together.
I believe it. I was in the drama club. Okay, here we go. So that's the end of my notes.
That's the end of my notes too. But you said you did not like the baby surge.
Oh my God, no, that was my last note. Okay. 2 things. I hated that. Everyone gets a baby.
I kind of liked it.
I hated it. The other thing that bothered me was Helen's baby not gigantic.
Oh my God. I hate babies in movies.
Yeah, that was the largest baby I've ever seen in my life.
We just watched, was it Stanicky, that movie? Is it Peter Stanicky? It's a new movie on Apple. Not Apple. It was funny, actually. John Cena and Zac Efron. Anyway, he was holding his newborn infant that was supposed to be 6 weeks premature. Yeah. Oh, it was supposed to be 6 pounds. They said 6 pounds. And it was obviously like a 3-month-old baby. And I get you can't have a little tiny itty bitty baby, but there are realistic baby dolls these days that they could have.
No way that baby came out of Dianne Wiest that day.
No way. No way.
No.
It's always been bad.
Listen, I'm happy for all of them. They all got their babies, but
it was kind of funny just to see. Okay, it must be this, like trying to guess who it was.
Yeah, I thought
that was kind of cute.
I liked it more when I was younger. That ending.
Yeah.
I think just because it went so hard with like the darker stuff that I was like, and it's like fluffy ending. I don't know. Whatever.
I think you kind of needed it to be a little lighter for an ending.
It's a little too fluffy, but I digress.
So,
some trivia.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, more or less or about the same. Sorry.
I'm gonna say about the same, I think.
Okay.
Because I really, really liked it.
Yeah,
I really liked it, and I really liked it before.
I'm gonna say a little more.
Wow.
But just marginally. But I think I really appreciated so many more things.
Yeah.
Through a middle-aged.
True. You know what? I might change my answer to a little more, mostly because of the way they talked about mental health. It made me happy to see how far we've come, and because usually we don't. When we hear about like the racist stuff and the sexist stuff and things like that, a lot of times these 80s movies, you look at it and it's like, God, we're still here.
Well, I would say sometimes even in the 90s.
You know what I mean?
I sometimes even think the 90s movies get it wrong. And this movie was 89. So it's like, so I think it reminded me another thing that sort of tying in, but not really, but it was like when I think the Julie and Karen fighting.
Yes.
When you think about, like, say, not even 90s movies, like, say, Mermaids or other movies, like, typically those fights end with a slap across the face.
Yes.
And someone storms out.
Yeah.
And I do think these scenes in Parenthood are just a little bit longer. So both characters can say their piece. And I think that was really well written and really smart.
And a lot of times in those movies, the parent is right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're like, they have the last word and they have some words of wisdom as to why they're right.
Yeah.
And that's how the scene ends.
Yeah.
Or with a slap across the face. But in this one, it's like the parent isn't always right. Right. Yeah. And I love that. I really do love that.
So the budget for this movie was $20 million. It made $126 million.
Good for them.
Oscar nomination, supporting actress for Dianne Wiest. And then the only other one it got was for original song, I Love to See a Smile.
Where was that?
I think it started that way when they're walking through the parking lot. And then I think they played it again because it ends.
Oh, was it the Randy Newman?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I remember it. Yeah.
I have Match Game.
I have an FMK.
All right.
You want me to do mine first?
Why don't you go first?
All right. Okay. Here it is. Are you ready?
Yeah.
We have Larry.
Larry is
the youngest son.
The bad guy. Yeah. Okay. Tom Hulse. Yeah.
We have Nathan.
Rick Moranis.
And we have Gil. F, marry, kill.
You're giving me the bumper crop.
I know.
You couldn't even give me Keanu, could you?
No, it would have been a different 3. He was involved. I think there's only one answer.
I guess so. Okay.
Well, I guess it could go into a couple of minutes.
All right, I'm effing Nathan.
Interesting.
Because there's that whole story of how he's so hot and sexy.
Oh, that's right. Because she gave him the roadhead. Yeah.
Oh, we didn't talk about that scene.
We didn't.
Was like,
that was
show the officer what you were doing, honey. Oh my God, that was so funny. I would marry Gil, even though he has all sorts of problems, and you have to kill Larry.
Yeah.
Oh
so God. I thought you were going to F Larry.
That would have been my other.
Yeah, and kill Nathan.
Yeah, that's the only other one. You have to marry Gil.
Yeah, but you have to marry Gil. I mean, he was a provider.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't always nice, but he was at least could communicate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Told you how he was feeling for the most part, and he tried to do the right thing.
Here's my match game.
Yeah, and I would F Larry, kill Nathan, and marry Gil.
Yeah, I feel like Larry's the kind of guy who would want to use protection, and you get pregnant and he'd leave you.
Yeah, but he was kind of cute.
Really? I didn't find him cute. I didn't find him cute.
Oh, I thought he was okay.
He needed a major haircut.
Yeah.
Haircut. Here's my match game. You ready?
Yeah.
Santa Claus kept an eye on the Buckmans that year. And that Christmas, they all got blank.
Ding.
Ding. Santa Claus gave the Buckmans blank.
Retainers.
I'm so sorry. I meant all of the Buckmans, like the whole family.
Oh, the whole family. Well, still, I'm still doing
diapers.
Oh, yeah, that's a good gift for every. Yeah.
My second answer was condoms.
That's better. They all got vasectomies.
Well, friends, that was Parenthood. And that's it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to follow us on Instagram or YouTube, where we have our episodes as well as a little extra.
And if you have any questions about our show, any suggestions for movies we could revisit, reach out to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening.
This is Brian.
And this is Christina. Until next time.